if you heard Congresswoman Kamek, but she said majority down to 2. I mean, this is a situation for Republicans, and she said the vote was not political, but it's hard not to have the politics right staring you in the face.
Well, this is one of those things you got to do what's right. But you know what? If this is the standard, how come they're not having this vote on Adam Schiff or Eric Swalwell?
So why aren't
people
they?
on the Intel committee? I don't know why. What they were on the Intel committee misrepresenting multiple times classified information. Nothing happened to them. They didn't even lose their ability to have a security clearance. I think the Democrats are very inconsistent here, because if you're going to take this position on Santos, where is your position on Menendez? Because he is equally, I mean, he has damning evidence against him. He has evidence out the Yahoo, and he also has a very scathing ethics report.
The Party of Personal Responsibility is upset yet again over some of it being sprinkled over George Santos. So they're revisiting some accusations against Democrats that never really panned out. Now, don't forget, Republicans only give a damn about Santos because of the vote that he represents towards the House majority. They all recognize how unethical he was.
You know, George has been continually a colorful figure here on Capitol Hill.
To say the least.
To say the least. And I have never had a bad word with him. I think, again, the people that are sent here to represent their districts, they are reflective of the different push and pulls in the country. So I know that this has got to be extraordinarily trying for him as an individual. But let's be honest, he has done some things that are not exactly ethical, to say the least. I won't weigh into the legal aspects of it,
right,
but unethical at its best. So I come back to the fact that we in the House, we have that constitutional responsibility to govern ourselves. One thing that I did caution my friends and colleagues on the House floor today was, listen, if we are going to take a stance that without a conviction that we will not expel today, be mindful on the other side, just like Americans around the country that are sick and tired of politics, if we have a Democrat that is put forward without a conviction, we need to step forward and have a consistent voting record here. I think that's critically important because Americans are sick and tired of the double standard, right?
Kat Kamek wants all of her colleagues to know that booting unethical members of Congress could become the standard, so be careful, because she just couldn't claim that Santos was above the fray. And if any member of Congress is hit with ethical charge after ethical charge, backed by evidence on top of evidence, there really is no reason to endorse having Common in the House of Representatives, regardless of party affiliation. So sure, go after the Bob Menendezes of the world too. It would actually make the institutions more ethical. But since politicians rarely do things for the country and opt for promoting themselves and their own careers, there's not a lot of consistency.
This George Santos guy has some serious problems, and I'd live a good life if I never met the guy. Probably most of us would. But I think it's wrong that he was expelled without putting it to the voters or without running it through the court process. The judicial system determines the guilt. The guy's been indicted. Let that play itself out. Anybody since the Civil War who has been expelled, it's only been 2 people, both of them were convicted in a court of law before their fellow congressmen got them out. Now that this guy has been expelled, and he does seem like a pathological liar and everything else, if what's printed in the press is to be believed. That being said, this sets a terrible precedent. Now that they can use this for George Santos, they can use this for anybody. I mean, Bob Menendez, gold bars. You could talk about that example. Go straight down the list. And that may not be a popular position right now, but I think it's important that somebody speak the truth, not just when it's easy, but when it's hard.
Political honesty always teeters on whether or not the dishonest and harmful member is in their own party. And it's proven yet again by the fact that Republicans aren't even acknowledging that Santos was booted because enough of his fellow Republicans brought the vote forward and voted to expel him. The only Republican that remembers this is George Santos. And he's triggering his own Trump-style revenge tour, starting with Republican Representative Malliotakis. Monday, I will be filing an official complaint with the Office of Congressional Ethics against Malliotakis regarding her questionable stock trading since joining the Ways and Means Committee this Congress. Before joining the committee, this Congresswoman didn't have an active trading habit or a high-volume stake. The question is, what set of information is she trading with? Malliotakis is the target. She crossed Santos when she said this.
We got the 2/3 vote to remove George Santos. We've expelled him, and it was, it was a solemn day. I mean, he deserved it. He deserved to be removed. I voted for the expulsion, but at the end of the day, it is a sad stain on the institution. And it was important that we had remove him so his constituents can elect somebody new, somebody they can trust and have a relationship with. The reality is George Santos had lost the trust of his colleagues, his constituents. And the bottom line here is we asked the Ethics Committee at the beginning of this year to do a thorough investigation, and they had issued 38 different subpoenas, interviewed 40 individual witnesses. They reviewed 170,000 pages of documents, and they were able to produce the evidence to the members that warrants his expulsion. It is really troubling and disturbing that we had this con artist sitting in Congress with us. And quite frankly, it's been a distraction this entire year. So I'm relieved to see that he will no longer be in this institution.
Up next is Republican Mike Lawler. George Santos tweeted, "On Monday, I'll be filing an ethics complaint against Mike Lawler for questionable campaign finance violations. Congressman Lawler owns portion of Checkmate Strategies, and he uses the same firm that he is a beneficiary of to pay for services related to his campaign. The concerning questions are, is Mr. Lawler engaging in laundering money from his campaign to his firm, then into his own pocket? I will let the Office of Congressional Ethics be the judge of that." Representative Mike Lawler has never been very nice to Santos, so that makes him target number 2.
Listen, his conduct is embarrassing and unbecoming, and it is certainly a distraction. His election has been certified, so he will be seated in this Congress. But ultimately, obviously, we will see what the investigations come back with. There are numerous investigations at federal, state, and local, as well as international. And it's very unfortunate and disappointing.
He's not even done, though. Republican Nick LaLota also made an appearance on George's revenge list when he then tweeted this. "On Monday, the third ethics report I'll be submitting to the Office of Congressional Ethics is on Representative LaLota. It has been raised in the local media that Congressman LaLota obtained his JD attending Hofstra in day school while he was supposed to be working at the Board of Elections at the same time. The questionable actions are, did Representative LaLota no-show to his tax-pay-funded job while going to school? And if so, he can potentially have stolen public funds from the taxpayers of New York. I will let the Office of Congressional Ethics determine the validity of this grave allegation raised in his local media." And what did Representative LaLota say to become enemy number 3?
Do you think you'll bring up this Santos expulsion resolution again?
Yes, and I think that'll be it's likely to be right after the Ethics Committee publishes their findings, which we've been told it's going to be on or before November 17th.
Do you think that there will be more support at that point from Republicans, the two-thirds majority?
Heck yeah. A lot of my colleagues had private conversations with. They wanted to hang their hat on something. They wanted to hang their hat on a guilty plea, a guilty finding of a jury or a judge, or an ethics committee finding. So I would expect the number of Republicans to increase from 24, like it was yesterday, and I expect the number of Democrat no's to decrease from 31 that was yesterday.
Battle lines are drawn all throughout congressional Republican circles, as ethics and power dynamics have created some dramatic enemies. And the once happy-go-lucky George Santos is embracing all of it. I mean, even the Mets disappointed him this year.
Hey guys, today is opening day. As a good old Mets fan, I know you guys aren't going to be playing until April 6th back home, but in good old fashion, let's go Mets!